So at the end of the last video, I showed you guys this big pile here that I found after going through all that wood and splitting it. All this wood with fungus and mushrooms. Put it back down there. Well, I called the guy, and guess what he said? Take what you want. So, there's the inspector. So now I'm going to put this in the woodshed. And this stuff is all ready to burn. It's properly seasoned. So that's right, guys. He said, come over and take what you want. I wasn't going to call, actually. Like, I was getting doubts, like, should I call or not? Because, you know, I was there and I saw the wood. But there's one thing. One thing. I'll tell you later what that one thing is. I remember that from a movie I watched years ago. I think it was called City Slickers. When the guy said, Curly said to Billy Crystal there's one thing, he says. What's the one thing? You got to find that out. Anyway, there's one thing why I called the guy. I'll tell you that later. Keep watching. It's good for content too, right? Keep you in suspense. But anyways, I was thinking I'm not going to call. Because a guy came over that day after I was done splitting and everything. He pulled in the yard and he says, do you need any firewood? And I thought, that's the time of year, right? People are buying and selling firewood right now. It's hot business. Especially up here, it's getting colder by the day. So he pulled in, he didn't have no wood with him, but I didn't even know who he was. I've been here 3 years off and on, like the last year full time. And I never met the guy. And he said who he was, and he says he sells firewood. I said, what do you have? He says, I got a truck 16 feet long of wood, about 6 feet wide and about 3 feet high. So I couldn't do the quick math at that time, but I think it's about just over 2 cords. I said, what do you have? He said, about 2.5 cords. I said, it's all dry and everything and split? Oh yeah. I said, I just got wood. And he was like, ah. I said, would you sell some in the winter maybe? No. If I still have the wood, I'm just going to put it in the shed, and I'm not driving it out anywhere 35 below. And I don't blame him. But I said, maybe I'll need some. So I showed him this wood here. And I said, look at all the wood I got from that, and like a lot of mushrooms and fungus. Do you think he would take it back? He said, no way. He's not going to take it back. He said, burn it, he said. You can still burn this wood. I said, it's still wet. He said, well, dry it up and then, you know, put a nice fire. He said it just like that. Split it up, build a nice hot fire, and the wife will be happy. That's what he said, you know, exactly. I thought, what about me? Like, because he said, like, she wouldn't know the difference, a nice hot fire. But I know the difference. It's full of mushrooms and crap on it. And I didn't want it. So, after he said that he's not going to take it back, I had big doubts. I thought, I don't know if I'm going to call him. I thought, maybe I'll call him and just say, I just wanted to tell you that a lot of that wood's wet, because if someone else you sell it to, and, you know, maybe you'd like to know that. But there's one thing. One thing that happened and why I got that wood, and hang on, I'll tell you about that later. There's my helper. Let's go in the shed here. So this is the pine here, the original 2 cords. This stuff's all dry, like I said. And there's the poplar that I all split. And I got some wet ones in the back shed. You've seen that in the last video. And here's some poplar that's too long yet. I didn't get to cut that. I still have to cut this because they're up to 20 inches long anyways. They're too long for the wood stove. And back here, at the top here, I cut the pine ones that were too long. They were up to 20 inches. And there was quite a few of them. Like, it was quite a stack. I thought maybe 20 or something. I don't know. There could have been about 50, 60, maybe more. So I cut them and then I put them up there. They're all dry. And this is that load down here from the blue car that I showed you, that clip. That's all from the guy. That's all the wood he gave me. Remember, there's that one thing. I'm going to talk about that later. How I got that wood. So yeah. Pretty happy. This is all split. This was a lot of work, but I thought, you know, if I would just take it all back, I'd have to still split maybe, because maybe I wouldn't have realized, but I do split some open to check. Also, I wanted to show you here some wood. my wife, Kulika, said there's a tree, like it's dead and it's falling over by her fence area behind the garden, and she said, could I cut the tree down? So I went and inspected it. I said, sure, I'll cut it down and maybe I'll see if it's good for firewood, and because we thought maybe it's rotten. But the first, from the trunk about 2 feet up was kind of rotten, but it was ready to fall the next windstorm. So I cut the tree down, I bucked it right there, and then I brought it back and I split them all, see? And this is beautiful wood, and it's fairly dry. I measured a lot of them. They're 16 to 20%, or even 18. I don't think I've seen 20 on this one, but I might have, I forget. But, my understanding is, like they say, a dead tree standing that's like a pine or a spruce is probably dry. But, don't take my word for it. Always test it. But anyways, yeah, we got all that. We got a lot of wood now. Actually, there's another couple trees down by the horse barn. They've been down for a few months sitting there. And we're going to cut that and see if that's any good for firewood. Actually, those trees fell down about 4 or 5 months ago. Like right in the spring, but the bugs were so bad, I thought I'd just leave it. Because you couldn't even think about going back there. You'd have to have a full bug suit. They were just horrible. Like you go in the bush like that. It's like the bush everywhere up here, but in the tall grass there. So we just left it. So we're going to cut those, and they're pine. I think they're pine. And I'll make some more firewood out of that. So I'll tell you what the one thing is. Actually, like I said, I wasn't going to call and say that. And the guy the night before said he won't take it back. Like you made the deal and that's the way it is. The one thing was, it's wet. Before we made the deal, the guy and I, he showed me the wood and everything, and I said, is this wood all dry? Like the pine and the poplar, is it all ready to burn? Is it seasoned? He said, it's absolutely, it's all dry. And the poplar's been here for 2 years, so I guarantee it's dry. So there was the one thing. That's the one thing. He said it was dry. And I started splitting it open and they were wet. And you see the mushrooms here and everything, the fungus. That means it's been sitting way too long and they're wet, and some of them are rotten. So I told him on the phone, he didn't say nothing. Come and get what you need. That's what he said. And then I said, you want me to bring them? I'll put a tarp down, I'll bring them all back to you. Or I took pictures, I don't want nothing, he says. Just come and get what you need. So I didn't even say to him, the wood, you said the wood was dry. I didn't even say that. But I was going to say that if he would have said, well, we made the deal and I gave you a good price. And it still wasn't free. I'll tell you, I paid $160 for the poplar. That's still $160, and all that work I did. 5 days I was working 4 or 5 hours a day. I split every piece. Like, getting a piece here. And I split this 2 or 3 times. And then sometimes they were moist, sometimes they weren't. But how did I know? I split the whole load, a cord of wood. So I told him all that. He didn't even question it. He doesn't want the wood back, and he didn't even want pictures. And then I went. His wife came out, like she's doing better. And they were talking to me nicely and everything. There was no animosity or hard feelings. They're nice people, and I think I'm pretty fair. I'm reasonable. I'm not a mean bugger, So, but anyways, some comments said, "Oh, don't do it. Don't go there no more." But I was thinking about that. Okay, don't go to him no more. Where I took my car, I'm concerned now. Did they even change the oil that time? So don't go there no more. The guy we made a deal with the hay years ago, and he'll give us firewood. I don't deal with him no more. This isn't New York here. There's only a few people here and there. Where would I be going then? So sometimes maybe you call, you be nice. Someone else left a comment, maybe talk nicely and reasonable. I didn't call yelling and screaming, come and get this crap. I know he didn't really know, but he probably remembers all those mushrooms and fungus, and he knows, and he thought maybe I wouldn't complain, because some guys burn that stuff. So give a big thumbs up, guys. That's what happened, and that was the one thing. The wood was wet. That was my ace up in the hole there, if he would have said anything, which he didn't. And hopefully we'll be okay now. See you in the next one, guys.